Welcome to another episode of Ecom Experiences, a podcast for e-commerce marketing leaders who want to grow and scale their brands faster. Join us as we interview some of the smartest brand founders and marketing leaders in the industry. Explore the lessons they learned, discover the keys to their success, and discuss what excites them most about the future.
Hi, it's Samir Balwani here, host of Ecom Experiences, where we talk to brand founders and marketing leaders about their experiences growing their brands. This episode is brought to you by Query. Query is a paid media agency that helps brands balance brand awareness and performance marketing to drive predictable and profitable growth. To learn more about how we can help you, visit weareqry.com. I'm really excited about our guest today. I have Justin Silver here. He's the co-founder of AAVRANI, a venture advisor at the Center for Innovative Thinking at Yale, and entrepreneur in residence at Wharton's Venture Lab. It's going to be an awesome conversation, and I'm so happy to have you. Thanks for joining us, Justin.
Happy to be here. Excited to chat through so many things, my experiences, how we can help the next generation of leaders, all the above.
Amazing. All right, well, let's start with the fun stuff. So, Justin, tell us about AAVRANI. What is it? How'd you get started? Tell us the story.
Heck yeah. So AAVRANI is a beauty brand powered by science and inspired by tradition. It's really rooted in my co-founder Ruchi Roy's background as an Indian American woman, leveraging all those powerful ancient rituals that she used to create skincare and hair care growing up with her grandmother, but powered by really modern, really groundbreaking science. We've had skincare for the past 5 years, and we're going to be launching hair care in partnership with Sephora on March 12th, 2024. If you're listening to this after that date, go on Sephora.com if you're in the US or Canada and check us out.
That's awesome. And so tell us more about the journey from skincare to hair care. I guess entering a whole new category is a huge undertaking. So, it's one thing to start a brand, and then it's a whole nother thing to start to pivot or even introduce new elements to it. So how has that been?
Yeah. So, if I could rewind a little bit, I'll take you back to 2017. I had been working as an investor for the past few years in the early stage consumer space, touching food, beverage, and beauty. Had some really great investments and some, not so great ones, but we're not going to talk about those. Some of the hits included Bonza, the chickpea pasta, and a Japanese-inspired skincare brand that ended up selling to Unilever for $500 million. So as an investor, I saw from the outside in what it was like to build these companies. Yeah. And I knew that I was so inspired by these amazing founders that that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up going to business school, and I'm at Wharton. On my second day of school, there's this woman in front of me at Taco Tuesday on the lunch line. We were in the same cluster, and I'm like, hey, do you want to grab lunch together? And in that conversation, we came up with the idea for AAVRANI. And at the time, my experience had been in skincare. Skincare was a rapidly growing category. And so we began building this skincare brand. But as time went on, we saw a couple factors come into play. Number one, the number of skincare brands that launched between 2017 and 2022 was insane. Massive influx of companies, of products, of really great, qualified, talented founders into that space. And so it became hyper competitive, even more so than it was in 2017, not only for consumers' mind share, but retailers' mind share. And it just became a place where we knew there was a business and we knew that there was going to continue to be an opportunity, but we wanted to make sure we were maximizing and we were providing, we were making sure that we could get AAVRANI into the most number of hands as possible. And so that was where a partnership with Lily Singh kind of came into play. She's a mega celebrity, comedian, actress, YouTuber, host, so many multi-hyphenates. So we began to talk with her about potentially working with us. And that's what sparked this idea of hair. So we had Lily, and then we had some conversations early with Sephora where they were really excited about hair being one of their fastest growing segments, having so much opportunity, and for there not being a ton of really powerful players. So we knew that we could take all of the work that we had done in skincare and begin to build products that were really science driven, that really had you know, they were just efficacious at their core.
Yeah.
And then you layer on all this beautiful inspiration, background, branding, all these amazing pieces of the puzzle. And that's really how we came to Avrani Hair. It was not set by accident. This has
Yeah.
been being crafted over multiple years.
I love it because I think it also speaks to the power of the Avrani brand, right? Where the brand is not skincare, the brand is science and traditional ingredients meeting together, which allows you to easily enter into the hair care market because you already have permission to do that. It's a new addition of your ingredient list. So I think whether by design or by accident, I think that that is an awesome structure for a brand to have to allow you to have a lot of legs and growth ahead of you. So I think kudos to you guys for being able to see that through the forest. I think the other piece of it, which I think is awesome that you guys are doing, is you didn't jump into hair care because it was oh, I think everyone else is doing it, like we should do this,
Mhm.
and it was really well thought out and you recognize that there's demand in the market. And whether that being from a partner like Sephora who came and said, hey, we need this kind of support, or from your consumers themselves, I think that just sets you guys up for success.
Yeah, I think that reminds me really of authenticity. It's
Right.
become clearer and clearer. There's so much transparency. Consumers know and understand authenticity, and it's pretty easy to spot inauthenticity. When you see founder missions that don't align with who they are, celebrity brands that don't have the true backing, and the flip side, celebrity brands that really have that true
Yeah.
backing, like Fenty Beauty with Rihanna and others. You just see this core alignment that moves the brand forward. And that has been one of the things that has made us successful along the way, is always remaining authentic to who we are. And once you
Yeah.
get off that path, it's pretty hard to get back on it.
Yeah, for sure. We talk about brand community pretty often here, and recognizing that you need to know who your core customer is, but also who
Yeah.
your core customer is not, and make sure that you are true to the ones that matter the most for you, and kind of
Yeah.
scale from there.
Being being everything to everyone often means nothing to no one.
Yeah, 100%. I love that for sure. Um, Justin, that's awesome. So tell me, I'm curious about your role as co-founder of Avrani. I know it is, as a founder myself, it is a really interesting role to be in. I'd love to hear from you. What are your favorite parts about doing that? Like how has it been? 5 years is a long time.
Man, if we start back in 2017 when I first met Rushi, it's really 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
By far the longest job I've ever had. And actually, we're getting to the point where it's the longest I've been anywhere for my entire career. So that's a very exciting milestone. I'd say being a founder is the best job if you're the right fit for it. Uh, I get to wake up every day and do something I love with people who I've helped recruit to the team, and really building something that didn't exist before. We have ideas and then we turn them into realities. And man, how much cooler is that than being a cog in a wheel? If that's your jam, you have to be somebody who thrives on that, because there are high highs and equally low lows.
Oh,
But that's the fun part. I'd say, you know, I recommend, if you're sitting in that job and you're thinking to yourself, man, I just have so many ideas, I want to start doing something, don't just quit and go full time. I think we're in an amazing world right now where there's a ton of tools and resources where you could start something, you could start to work with an agency, Quarry or others. You
yeah.
can get a lot of leverage with a lot of resources that you might not otherwise use. Shout out to websites like hiremymom.com, where
Yeah.
you can have stay at home moms helping you build a company remotely. There are so many resources out there. You can just start before you need to leave your full time.
And I think that that's actually really valuable insight. It's interesting. You said something about the high highs and low lows, and I tell people being a founder. So I've worked enterprise, I've worked startup, and I've been a founder myself. So I've seen like all three levels of it at
Yeah.
this point. And I like to equate it to kind of being a sine wave, right? Like you get the up and you get the down. And when you're in enterprise, the sine wave's there and you have a lot of them, but they're just like small. And then
Yeah.
you get to a startup and the time between them gets further away. So you have
Mm,
less highs and less lows, but they're bigger. And
yeah.
then you get to being a founder and they get a little bit further away, but they get exponentially higher and
Oh, yeah.
exponentially lower. And I think the one thing you said it really well. If you are excited about it, it is the best thing you can do. But you have to be ready to take risks and be extremely resilient.
Yeah.
Because I don't think very few businesses go out of business because they ran out of money or they had a major fall through. Most businesses
Mm,
go out of business because the founders couldn't continue on and they just
mm,
stopped. And there's a level of persistence that you need, even when it's all against the odds. And like you need to be able to see it and be like, no, yeah, no, that's definitely it's as my team likes to call it, it's unrealistic optimism sometimes. It's
mm. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I have some thoughts around that.
So Justin, tell me, we've talked about the highs and the lows and kind of, I do want to continue on through that. So like, as you're looking ahead, what are the major challenges? Like, what are the things that, cliche keeping you up at night?
I think the number one thing that we're always thinking about is people. And that answer has evolved over time. I used to say people was like the core team that we were building. And I think that's tantamount. But it's still not, or, it's something that we've worked on. I think we've built a really incredible team filled with A plus players. And that has always been my number one. And then it's like, okay, we have these A plus players coming into our office in a hybrid schedule. They're working on all these things. They're doing it so well. And then we have third party support. And this isn't just one or two people. There are an extra 10, 15 plus people who are part of our third party support from the marketing and digital ads perspective, from operations, from shipping, from every single angle. There is 1 to 5 people on a team supporting AAVRANI. And that is where it's really easy to let mediocre performance slip through the cracks because you're not as in it. When we're looking at team members who are coming in and we're seeing them and we're getting updates, we know pretty quickly if it's not working or if we're not getting the things that we need or if we're not hitting the goals that we want to hit. But with a third party, it takes much longer and it's much harder. And so when I say people, it's not necessarily the people who are on our core team. I think we're in a really good place. It's
Yeah.
more about looking to those third parties, the kind of people around the people, if you will,
Yeah.
and making sure that they are in a prime position to ensure that we're thriving.
It's so interesting you say that because I think the best partners that we have as an agency are the ones that hold us accountable to our outcomes, right? Um, and I look at it as we're Query is a media buying agency. We do a lot of strategy work, we do a lot of execution work, and clients come to us to fulfill on two pieces. They want us to be a consultative advisor and help them, guide them through their future, and uh, that's what we do really well. And then there's an element of also managing and executing that vision, right?
Mm,
Um, and the best brand partners give us the information and set the vision so that way we can help guide them to the right place. Because the worst is when you get a vision and you build that path, and then they're like, oh, wait, no, that's not what we meant. And you're like,
yeah,
well, all
yeah.
right, well, no one's going to be successful if we consistently are moving in this direction. So I think, it is a partnership on that level in terms of making sure that we get the information we need to be able to fulfill on it. And then at the second level, it's making sure that it's no different than like how a leader works and holds certain levels of expectations and accountability, but then also helps drive innovation and openness and transparency, right? And so the best agency partners are the best brand partners to our agency are the ones that recognize that two-way relationship. And it is not our agency is just bottom of the barrel. Let's just run them until we run them and then we'll switch them out. those are not partners that we like to work with because we can't be strategic or long-term thoughtfulness for them. So yeah, I agree with you in terms of making sure your partners are fulfilling on what you expect from them is no different than what you do for your own internal members, and um, is key for success for sure.
Definitely.
Amazing. So um, I'm so curious. What are you excited about outside of hair care lawn? Because that is its own level of excitement. What else are you excited about? What are you looking forward to for 24?
Man, Samir, there's so much good stuff. Well, a fun and exciting personal note, I got engaged back in December, and so very excited for all the wedding planning and just spending a lot of time with my fiance Adele. Shout out to Adele.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Um, I think when it comes to the business front, there's just so much awesome stuff. You're talking about the launch of hair. It used to be, rewind maybe 10 years ago, launching in Sephora was success. Very few brands would fail or not be able to, get to the next level or, grow really rapidly. It was almost this golden key, this, key to the city to a successful brand. I think that has shifted. Now entering Sephora is what I like to describe as the marathon of an Ironman. And I'll paint this metaphor for you. People say, "Oh, yeah, you're running a marathon." You might say the last mile of a marathon. Just ran the New York City Marathon. The last mile, you're able to just kind of push through and get across the finish line. But with an Ironman, you're swimming for like 2 or 3 hours, then you're biking for like 5 or 6 hours, and then you run a marathon.
Yep.
And so to me, getting into Sephora is like we've now put on our running shoes, we've taken off our cycling, we've clipped out of our cycle, and now we're getting ready to run a marathon. And it is such a unique place to be. We've been working on this business for 7 years, and we are just about to start the marathon. And so, like all marathons, they come with those highs, those lows, those really challenging moments. But we're about to make a massive push in awareness. And I think as a brand, in certain demographics, we're pretty well known, but in other demographics, we're completely unknown. And I think becoming a more well known brand across the board, that gets me fired up because being able to bring what we've built, the power, the depth, the beauty, and the actual efficacious products, man, like we are going to do some amazing things over the course of the year. So I think from the business perspective, it's that awareness, it's getting it out there. And then I think continuing to tighten and strengthen the team that we have here. One of the best parts of my role is getting to work with the team that we've built internally. And so strengthening and deepening those relationships, making sure that we're growing our team members, that they're becoming bigger leaders within the company, all of those things just get me really pumped.
I love that. Yeah, it's so interesting because I think you and I have talked about this in the past, but like brand awareness is a key element for growing a brand. Like if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't matter how good your product is.
Yeah.
But I think the founders that look to brand awareness and are ready to invest in it have this level of confidence in their product. And that the brands that don't invest in brand awareness, I almost always am. My question is always, well, do you not trust your product enough? Like if I introduce or your product messaging or like how you're appearing to the market, because if you have confidence in how you speak and how you deliver, then you should have confidence in introducing new people and be excited about investing in getting new people to the brand. And so I think hearing you speak today around your journey to hair care and the partnerships you've created around it and how you look at your team and the product as you deliver on it, it's no wonder that you're confident and excited to be spreading in brand awareness and be investing in that part of introducing the product to new people because you know it will be successful.
Exactly.
That's
Couldn't have
awesome.
said it better myself.
I love it. Well, all right. So last question for you. You know, you've been doing this as a leader for 7 years, which I absolutely an amazing it's funny because you'll look back on it when you're successful and be like, oh, we did everything in a year, and you'll have forgotten about everything previous to that.
Yeah, I look forward to
But
those moments.
yeah, exactly. But I imagine someone stepping in as a new leader or really building out their first startup for the first time and having to hire people for the first time and growing themselves as a leader. What advice do you give them?
So I want to talk about goal setting because I feel like
Mm,
this is something that I have really grown in a significant way. The team has evolved in the way that we think about goals, and it's just super important from a motivation perspective. So I used to say, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land among the stars.
I
I
love it.
would set really big goals. I'd be like, let's, kind of do this idea of, well, what could we do in 10 years? Let's try and do that in a month. And we'll move a lot further than we would if we just set what we could do in a month. But what that is really motivating for is you, is me, is the founder. It's a very founder individual mentality and thinking in that strategic way. But when you're hiring people, when you're bringing on team members, they're joining your team because they're not a founder. And if you're asking them to think and act and be motivated like a founder, either be prepared to be hiring people who are going to go run and start their own companies within a few months, or be prepared to fail. And so instead of creating these like super lofty, really high goals that don't give people the ability to hit them and accomplish them and move forward and track progress and grow over time, we've really rethought that whole process. And now when we talk about goal setting, it's like, what can we realistically do? Okay, let's put that down. Let's revisit that every week. And let's make sure that at the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the quarter, and the end of the year, we're doing what we say we're going to do. And all of that ladders up to the bigger strategy, the overarching goals of the whole company. And when we've done that, we've seen people be able to thrive with us
Yeah.
for a long period of time. So when you're bringing on a team and you're talking about goal setting and motivation, it is so, so important to really analyze the difference between goals that you set for yourself and the ones that you set for your company. And as a founder, those personal motivations, and then how you're helping to motivate and goal set for your team.
That's such a thoughtful piece of advice because it goes back to kind of what you and I talked about earlier on around how founders have this uncanny level of resilience and
Mhm.
uh, optimism that most other people just don't. I always tell people our risk assessment meter is just broken, and so it's like it doesn't matter. It's like it's okay if you fail, right? Like you're used to failing. It doesn't bother you that you missed a goal. It might be frustrating
Mm,
that you
yeah.
missed a goal, but it's not debilitating. Versus for other people, it can be a confidence killer, and instead achieving small wins and small goals and really thinking about I moved it's the day after Super Bowl Sunday, so I'm going to use a football. It's like the inches lead up to the yards, but like you kick an inch, you get another inch, you get another inch, and people feel that confidence growing in them, and they want to be hitting their goals, and they want to get successful, and that's how you see long term growth. And so I think that is a really valuable and often forgotten piece of advice. And so, yeah, thank you for that one for sure.
Yeah. Our
Um,
first class at business school that we describe that thing, and it's called positive emotional contagion. And there's also negative emotional contagion. But like the word contagion, which we're all much more familiar with post 2020, it has the ability to spread very quickly. So if you're creating those positive emotions with early wins, with good support, with proper goal setting and motivation, that can become this positive emotional contagion. And it really resonates with the team.
that's really awesome. Well, Justin, thank you so much for joining us today. If someone wants to find you online, where can people go to learn more about you?
Check me out on Instagram at the Justin Silver. You can find me on my LinkedIn. You can connect with me, anywhere on the internet. I'd love to chat. Would love to talk entrepreneurship. Would love to talk Avrani, beauty business. I'm open.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. If you liked it, remember to subscribe so you'll be notified of new episodes. And if you know someone who would enjoy this show, don't forget to share and leave a review. It all helps us impact more brands. If you're looking to improve your paid media, go to weareqry.com and schedule a consultation. We're always happy to chat. See you for the next one.